Hi, and welcome to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I'm your host, Eric Knowles. Before we get started, a word from one of our supporters.
This is garbage, and you probably think all of it just goes to waste. But in Miami-Dade, we convert most of what you throw away into energy. In our waste-to-energy facility, we can turn about 90% of your everyday garbage into reusable fuel that creates clean electricity for our community. Enough energy to power 35,000 homes. Pretty illuminating, huh? In Miami-Dade, nothing goes to waste.
Hi, and welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm excited. you know, when you work with people who are doing some amazing things, it's really exciting. It's nothing but excitement because my guest is probably one of the most important persons when it comes to doing business here in South Florida, in particular in the construction industry and other areas as well. But Gladys, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Eric?
I'm doing great. So we have Gladys Keith with us with FSB, Friends of Small Business.
Right.
So who's Friends of Small Business? We all small businesses need friends. So tell us a little bit about FSB.
Okay, FSB is a contract surety servicing agency.
Okay.
What I do is I provide bonds. My specialty is contract surety. And I got started in this. I started in on the working capital side of the house, so to speak,
Okay.
in the banking industry.
Right.
But I got very frustrated because I was not very good at getting people loans because like 90% of everybody that applied didn't qualify. So when you're on that side of doing that type of work financing, there's a strict rule because it's audited. And you've got to follow this little chart and everything has to be checked off.
Right.
Well, on not successful, and I didn't like not being able to get people the loans that they wanted.
Right. And that wasn't your fault.
No, it wasn't my fault, but it was not fun coming to work and maybe every now and then you
Are able to help somebody.
are able to help somebody. And coming from my corporate side of the house, I was able to help a lot of companies do business with Florida Power and Light, where I was minority business specialist there. So this owner of an agency, she was a VP at a surety company.
Okay.
She looked at one of my packages that I was presenting and she told me, I think that you will make a good agent, a surety agent, because there's no difference in really getting a line of credit and getting a surety bond.
Okay.
Because a surety bond is a credit like instrument.
Okay.
So that's how I got involved in doing surety.
Okay.
That's a little background.
A little background on surety. So when you speak about surety, basically it's ensuring that a project or that a contractor is working on is going to be completed. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, it's a two-part instrument. You're guaranteeing to the owner, the contractor is going to perform the
Okay.
work that he says he's going to perform, but you're also guaranteeing to the owner that he's going to pay everybody involved in that, the suppliers, employee, anybody that's working on the project, subcontractors, everybody is going to get paid.
Okay.
So it's performance is taken care of and payment is taken care of.
Okay.
So that's what a bond guarantees to the owner.
And you hear about bonding all the time. Obviously, in the construction industry, I've heard there's self bonding, and obviously, again, bonding, and a lot of contractors, if you're not able to bond, you can't get the job.
Correct.
Talk about that a little bit.
Um, I work with a lot of small businesses, and I'm not going to say that you are not able to get the bond.
Okay.
You're just not prepared properly to start in the bonding industry, so to speak. A lot of the companies that I meet, they know exactly what they're doing. They're experts as far as performance.
Right.
What they don't have in place is what I call a back room. They don't have an accounting system internally.
Okay.
And they need to always be conscious of whatever types of insurance, because bonding is not insurance. It's totally, and a lot of them think it's insurance, but it's not really.
Okay.
It's more, like I said, a credit instrument. They need to have everything already in place. Bank account, CPA prepared financials, and internal financials. Because when I call a company and I say I need a profit and loss and a balance sheet, they should be able to go into their internal system and print me out a profit and loss and a balance sheet as of whatever date that I'm asking for.
Right.
So when I say back room, that's where they fall short.
Right. And I talk about it all the time. I say the back of the house, back of the room,
Yeah.
back room, as you say. And I find that, here we are. I don't know whether we say post-pandemic, because we're still reeling from the pandemic and somewhat still in it. But a lot of our businesses fail to be able to benefit from the government support.
Yeah, the PPP.
The PPP and EIDL, because they did not have the back of their back room,
yes.
back of the house in order. Not having those things that you're talking about, having the CPA, having the proper accounting, and even having the proper setup for their business.
Right. And paying themselves.
And paying themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you see? And again, in my from a novice perspective, I hear of having to bond up to 100,000, 500,000, $1 million. How do the numbers come into play?
The numbers come into play when it comes to your ability to support a project. If you've got $100,000 project and the owner says, I want you to provide me a performance and payment bond, what the surety is looking for is a lot of the municipalities and government, they don't pay in a timely manner.
Right.
So when you start that project, the surety company is looking to make sure you've got enough working capital to support the project until you get your first draw. I think it's the term they use.
Right.
First draw. So what I look for when I talk to a company, do you know what your payroll expenses is going to be for the first 2 months? You need to know what your overhead, you need to know up front what all those costs are, because I'm looking at your financials to see whether or not you got enough working capital to support it. And 9 times out of 10, there's not enough working capital to
Okay.
support a lot of the projects they're coming to me for bonding. So that's to me where it's falling short, where I'm having a difficult time bonding someone.
So you can have basically, let's say you have the back of the house together, but you don't have that capital.
Right.
So
That could be
that can be an issue.
yeah, that can be an issue. And lines of credit are
I know you started talking about that initially. That's how you started or got
that's how
into
I
the
started
business.
out, but that is where they need help.
Okay.
And if Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce could help with getting lines of credit in place to a lot of small businesses, they need help there, especially starting projects.
And that's something that we do. We help guide our businesses to access capital.
Yes.
And, that's one of the biggest challenges. But even to your point, when we're guiding them to access capital, then we are dealing with those issues.
You're dealing with the things that they don't have in place.
That they don't have in place. And it's not, I'm kind of laughing a little bit, but it's not a funny thing because
No.
it's a very serious thing. And a lot of them get frustrated because they're not getting business. And, it's a lot of thinking that, well, you need to give me a break, but it's business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have those things in order. So having that working capital is very important because, as you said, a lot of you, when you're working with whether the school board or the county and you're working with various municipalities, they may not pay within 30 days. It may be 60 days. It may be 90 days, even though a lot of the government agencies say they're going to pay within 15. But I find that a lot of times, in particular, if you're a subcontractor and you don't have, again, your ducks in a row, the contractor is going to hold you up on getting paid.
Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot with the subcontractors.
You want to talk about that a little bit? When you say it happens a lot.
They, a lot of times, the primes will use this pay when pay.
Right. Let's talk about the real deal, how this thing works, because a lot of people thinking going into business, like you said, they may be great at doing drywall, they may be good at painting, they may be great at all these different things, but there are these other challenges that they have, paying Davis Bacon wages,
Yes.
and keeping those records straight. And the little bit that I have learned, that's the one thing I've learned. If you haven't crossed those T's and dotted those I's, where you're saying that the contractors say pay when, say that again?
Well, they call it's a pay when pay clause that they put in the subs contract.
Mm-hmm.
When I get paid, then I'm going to pay you. The surety company ignores that because the legal system ignores it too. If you put in there that you're supposed to pay them in 25 days, that is to me the only thing that should fly.
Right.
In 25 days, pay them.
Right.
But they throw this pay when pay because the prime hasn't gotten paid from
whoever they're doing
doing the business for. It's like a catch-22 for a subcontractor. He is not going to get paid in a timely manner. So he definitely has to have enough working capital in place to cover himself for at least, I say, 60 days.
Right. And then the
first
point,
2 months.
And the point where I was going, and you're saying, as you say, pay when you're paid.
Yeah.
But the other part of that with subcontractors, if they haven't, again, dotted those I's, even though they've done the work.
Yeah, that turn in that application. If that application doesn't have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, it gets turned back to them. So now if you're on a 20 or 30 day cycle, when your pay app is rejected, now you're in the next month's cycle. So the paperwork it's creating a lot of problems for especially the subs
Okay.
because they don't really have enough people, I don't think, in the offices taking care of just the paperwork.
Right.
It's usually owner
Who's
coming
doing
from
it?
the field, and then he's trying to do all the paperwork to turn it in.
And the reality is they think they're saving money, but they're actually losing money.
They are,
So if they paid someone to do this work,
right.
they actually would be ahead.
Yeah, and they'll get paid a little bit faster.
Right. So again, what other challenges do you see out there when it comes to the whole bonding? I mean, again, I hear so much about bonding, and we're looking at all these
Contracts coming down the road.
coming
That's
coming down the road. You look at all this construction that's still continuing to happen. I remember I was in a meeting with one of the large contractors, and I would say 3-4 years ago, you saw like hundreds of cranes, not just a few cranes up in the air throughout Dade County. And he was telling me that there's going to be that much more still coming.
yeah, it's a lot of work coming down the pipeline, but it's a lot of contractors that are they don't have I'm running into a lot of working capital issues. I have a contractor, he has a $5 million project. I get a bond for him and he starts working on that project. Then he's got another $4 million project the next month. Now I'm looking at his working capital and I'm saying, okay, you have enough to cover the 5 million, but you're short on the 4 million. What are you going to do? Because you don't, these contractors will take that job without even thinking about, okay, I can deal with that later, how I'm going to handle it.
Right, because you see that
You, you,
number.
you think you're seeing the money, but you're not, you're creating a problem for yourself because now the surety company is going to either say no to the 4 million bond or they're going to want to put some restrictions on you. Okay, we're going to put you in funds control. Oh, we're going to put you in SBA, which is a very expensive bond.
Mm,
So now you're eating into whatever profit you perceive yourself to have.
right.
This bonding process now is eating up your profit. It's going to cost you more than it would have if you'd upfront say, okay, I can't handle the 4 million yet. Or let me go talk to my bank, increase my line of credit
Right.
so that I have enough to cover the 4 million.
And that's what I see a lot in again, in the years that I've been here at the chamber. Um, Obviously, we are advocating and, you know, working to open doors. But then if you're not prepared, to your point, you can think you're prepared, but when this opportunity for 5 million, you really only could do 2 million. We have to stay within
Yeah,
our wheelhouse, I guess I would say, until you build up to that.
right. And you got to stay conscious of what you can afford, which is what I consider like pre-qualifying
Right.
a contractor. And I look at them and I tell them, okay, you can afford a 5 million single job or two
Small jobs.
2.5 millions, but right now your aggregate is 5 million.
Right.
That's what you can do right now. Don't add another 4 on top of this because that's
It's
one
about
way of
managing the process.
right. And it's one way of going out of business too.
Right. And exactly. Now, we don't have a lot of time left, but let's talk about joint venture. Do you find yourself dealing with contractors forming joint ventures to be able to bond at a higher level?
The big guys do it all the time. The smaller guys don't do it. But the thing with bonding is the one that can get the larger bond is going to be the one that has to be the lead
Mm-hmm.
in the JV.
Mm-hmm.
Because say you have a $5 million project, one can do 3 million, the other can do 2. Well, when they put together that project, they still got to come up with $500,000 to cover the whole project, because the surety doesn't really look at, okay, you're going to do 2, you're going to do 3.
Right.
They're looking, the contract says 5 million. That's all they see is the 5 million. What's happening behind the scenes doesn't really matter to them. They got to just pay for the $5 million
Right.
contract.
It's not a split.
It's not a split to them.
And to them. You know, we thought we were going to have a lot of time to talk about this.
But we don't.
No, we don't. We're running out of time. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Okay, they can reach me at Gladys at FSBAgencyInc.com, or you can call 954-589-1631. That's my office number.
Okay. You know, this has been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. Been here with FSB, my friend Gladys. Keith, thank you for joining us. See you next time. Today, I stand before you, a proud graduate of Miami-Dade College and the 5th president of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I'm honored to return to the college that prepared me to become a leader in our community, providing an education second to none. So I'm asking you to please tune in every Monday at 12 noon to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce's Member Connection, as I interview members of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce on our Facebook page at Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce or our YouTube channel, Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. To learn more about the Chamber, please go to m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648.